is going to take the stage to speak to you tonight, I have to start by saying that he's a friend first. And I don't call many people my friend. I don't know about you guys. I got a lot of acquaintances, but there are not many people that I look at that I call a friend. I've had the blessing and the opportunity to indirectly know him for 9 years, and directly know him for 6 years. And the time that I've spent with him, I know he's enriched my life. He's encouraged and motivated me and helped me stay focused, stay grounded. I think that sometimes I've done that same thing for him. His message is very, very simple. We call him the expert in imagination and identity training. He has spent close to 30 years studying key systems to success. I've never met a walking encyclopedia until I met this man. I don't care what your denomination is, what your belief is. You ask him something, he can tell you about it. If you talk about a book, he's read it. You talk about an author, he's studied them. And he's come up with some solid principles as a result of that. And these solid principles are principles that he believes that if applied effectively can change the course of your reality regardless of what it is that you're pursuing. He's a co-founder of the Life Enrichment Institute. He's also author of 3 books, which you'll have the opportunity to learn more about inside the program. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time boosting his head up. I'm going to let him come to the stage and show you why I feel he's one of the most amazing speakers in our team. Let's give a huge, huge, huge round of applause to Mr. Larry Adebesin!
How is everyone doing today? And welcome, for those of you who had to travel, welcome to Atlanta. How many of you would like to improve certain areas of your lives? Let me see by show of hands. How many of you will not? Okay, so I think we're in the right crowd tonight. As Steve said, my name is Larry Adebesin, and for the past 20 years or so, I've been involved in 2 primary areas of discipline. Those are 2 areas that I am passionate about. And these 2 areas, I could talk to you about them 24 hours a day. So today, I'm going to try my best to chunk down for you guys in the next less than 15 minutes as it stands now, everything I have learned in the last 30 years. Now, you guys might be saying, how would you do that? Well, the main reason for that is because most of the stuff I learned in the past 30 years has been crap. Doesn't work. Now I'm going to tell you what works. So here's what we're going to do today. Let's do a little quick exercise. I want everybody to stand up. Stand up, everybody. So I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. If the answer is a yes, you do nothing. If the answer is a no, you clap as enthusiastically as you know how, okay? So let me give you an example. How many of you have met Michael Jordan personally? So I'm going to ask you the question. The question is, okay, so let me try it. It's going to go like this. How many of you have met Michael Jordan personally? If the answer is yes, you say nothing. Then I'll say, how many of you have not? Then you'll clap, okay? All right, so let's try it again. How many of you have met Michael Jordan personally? How many of you have not? All right. Maybe it's my accent. I know I wasn't born here, so maybe I'm not making too much sense. Let's try it again. So it's going to go like this. How many of you have met Michael Jordan personally? If you have, you do nothing. Then I'm going to say, how many of you have not? Then, if you have not, you clap as enthusiastically as you can. Okay, so let's try it again. How many of you have met Michael Jordan personally? You have not. So guys, so let's try it again. The question is going to be twofold. If you have not met him, you do nothing. topic of today is how to create your own reality. And I just showed you just a moment ago how you can create whatever reality you want. See, I just made a bunch of people who had never heard me give me a standing ovation. I haven't said a thing yet. All right, so, guys, let's get on a serious note. Now I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to share with you today, guys, is very, very serious. And I don't like dealing in things that are not real. I like to put my mouth where my money is. And what I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, I guarantee you, I quintuple guarantee you to find anything that's going to work more effectively in your life than the principles I am going to be sharing with you today. But before you listen to what I have to share with you, if you're like me, you're probably saying, why should I listen to you? That's the first question I'm asking. So let me give you briefly the reason why you need to listen to me. I started this whole personal development, success motivation study probably a little over 20 years ago. And when I started applying these principles, I had what I would call one of the quickest and fastest results anybody could ever have. I had achieved so much success in a very, very short period. I'm talking about I was a freshman at Howard University in Washington, D.C., making $8 an hour, working at a Bob's Big Boy as a chef back then. And guess what? In a matter of 6 months, I started my own business. I was even driving a blue Cadillac Sedan DeVille 1988 model. And in less than 3 months, everything went down. So I went up real fast, and I crashed even faster. Now, that messed me up. I had to know what happened. Because back then, I knew I had tapped into something. And I also knew I had violated something. What did I tap into? I didn't know. What did I violate? I didn't know. Confused, discouraged, depressed, I began a quest. Now, I didn't know it back then, but now I do. That was the decisive moment in my life. And over the past 20 years or so, my goal has always been finding out what works. What makes successful people successful, and why do people fail? I started out by looking for the 10 principles, then the 7 principles. Finally, I found out that 7 principles was too many. I chunked it down to 3. 3 principles was still too many. So I got to a point where I was looking for one only principle. I'm not interested in 2. I don't have time for that. I want to know the one thing I need to do, the one thing you need to do to get the results you produce in your life, the results you want. How many of you would like to know what that one principle is? All right, great. You're at the right place because I'm going to tell you right now. First, I want you to keep in mind is this. There's a quotation by Henry David Thoreau. It goes something like this. If one advances confidently in the direction of ease or a dream, and endeavors to live the life he or she has imagined, he or she will meet with success unexpected in common hours. And Napoleon Bonaparte, the former Roman emperor, once said, imagination rules the world. Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Henry Ward Beecher said, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire, you will what you imagine, and finally, you create what you imagined. So, what does all that have to do with creating your own reality? I'm going to show you right now. Here's what I want you to do. I want you guys to picture in your mind right now one area of your life that you would like to change. Just one. Once you've identified it, raise up your hand, let me know you've done that. Just one area. One area. Great. So here's the next question for you. I want you now to think about something that you've done very, very well in your life in the past. Something that makes you feel good every time you think about it. Just one thing. Once you've identified it, let me see if I show my hands. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to identify something, one area of your life that's not working the way you'd like to see it work. Every time you think about it, it just doesn't feel good. Let me know once you've identified it. All right, so the first principle I want you guys to understand is this. To change your life, to create your own destiny. Now, by the way, we all create our destinies. The only difference is that it's only the successful ones that acknowledge it. The people who do not achieve their goals, they blame, they make excuses. But we all make our own realities. And let me prove it to you. I just asked you guys to select one area of your life that works well and another area of your life that you'd like to improve. And you both identified one of each. First thing I want you to realize is this. You did that all by yourself. Nobody had to tell you what area was working and what area wasn't working. The reason for that is this. Most of us are looking for other people, the Democrats, the Republicans, the this, the that, to help us. No, you make your own reality. If it is to be, it's up to you. You know, most people are still, some people, I don't know what your religious beliefs are, but there are people, they are always looking for, you know what, I just need to have more God in my life and so on and so forth to make my life work. I'm here to tell you guys, you don't need God in your life. That's exactly what I said. You don't need God in your life. God needs you to show up in your life so you can achieve the results and the dreams you want. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 2 and verse 24 says, see, I have given into your hands Sihon the Amorite king of Heshbon. Begin to possess it. Engage him in battle. What else do you want? I have given you everything you want. You begin to possess it. If you go to the book of Joshua chapter 18 and verses 1 and 2, it says, finally, the Israelites had conquered. They had peace on every side. But there were still 7 tribes that had not received. When you guys get home, go look at your Bible. It said that had not received. What does that mean? Something had been given to them, but they had not received it. You are the one who has to do the possession. That verse says, engaging in battle. How do you engage anything in battle? You engage in battle based on the way you use your mind. Everything begins in your mind. You know, everybody has told us that everything begins in your mind, but very seldom have people broken it down for us. So now let me see if I can break it down for you. What do you, remember you selected an area of your life that's working and one that's not working, right? Just a moment ago. What do those 2 events have in common? Does anyone know? See, under normal circumstances, I'll engage you guys, I'll wait for your feedback. But because of the time constraint, I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to give you the answer. The answer, what both of those events have in common is, they are events that you have practiced from. Let me say that again. They are both events in your life that you have practiced from. What do I mean by that? Remember that event that makes you feel good, that you just thought about? Every time you think about it, you feel good. And when you think about that event, let me tell you exactly what happened. Every time you thought about that event, you felt something. You saw something. You said something to yourself, and you also saw how other people responded to you. And it made you feel good. So that's how come you define it as a good event. The other event that doesn't make you feel very good every time you think about it, the first thing is like, oh man, Syria is not working. And you start seeing pictures. By the way, when you feel good about things, you see everything in color. The colors are bright, big, it's loud. I mean, it's just the way you want it. But the things that don't make you feel good, the black and white, make you feel bad. The picture is fuzzy. You can't make any sense out of it. And what are you saying to yourself about those events? Why me? I mean, look at this, you're whining, you're complaining. And then you're also seeing other people affirming that negativity. So now let me tell you, how do you create your own reality? How do you create your destiny? You create your reality and your destiny by the way you use your destiny triggers. And what are the destiny triggers? I refer to destiny triggers as your 5 physical senses. Do you guys realize that nothing, good or not good, has ever happened to you unless it came through your 5 physical senses? Can you imagine where you'll be right now? That thing that makes you feel bad. Think about it again for one moment. So now, I want you to do something. Imagine you have no sense of hearing. Now, imagine you have no sense of sight. Now, imagine you cannot feel. Then also, imagine that you cannot speak. What just happened to that condition? Gone. Doesn't exist. See, you make it up. You make your own reality. I make my own reality by the way we use our destiny triggers. Does this make sense? Yes. Does it make sense so far, guys? Yes. This is your homework. And guess what? You have the rest of your life to figure it out. Because I know you are not going to get this homework. You are not going to come up with the right answer. And here's the homework. Go into your life. I want you to select everything that has ever happened to you, good or not good, that did not come into your world through your 5 physical senses. Doesn't exist. Genesis 1:26 says, and then God said, let us make man in our image and likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over the cattle, and over every creeping thing that moves along the ground. What does that mean? God gave you and I dominion, to have dominion over the fish of the sea. The fish of the sea represents the deep thoughts that are within us. The birds of the air, those are those thoughts that are flying around. Let me tell you what the fish of the sea mean again. You know, like sometimes when you go to church and the pastor starts preaching, and all of a sudden you see people growing, breaking all the funny sounds. And you see some people go up to the stage, I mean, they can't even tell you what's going on. But as you look at them, you know stuff's up. Those are the fish, those are the deep thoughts that are troubling them. Sometimes you can't even get those thoughts to come from within you to your head. They're so deep. And Genesis 1:26 says, you have dominion over them. The birds of the air, those are the thoughts that are flying around. You turn on the TV, they tell you there's depression, there's recession, there's this, there's that. People want to make you afraid. Those are thoughts that are going around. You capture them, you say, no, I don't have to accept that. I don't have to accept that. I don't have to buy that. The cattle on the ground. The cattle of the ground are the thoughts that you have been thinking for the longest time, that they have now taken shape. The sickness, the low bank account, the bad relationship. I mean, you're looking at it every time. You didn't plan to have a child until you were married. And now you got one that's 5 years old and you can't even get in touch with the other spouse. That's the cattle of the ground. But you know what, guys? Fear not. Because Genesis 1:26 tells us we have dominion over it. But how do we exercise dominion? We exercise dominion by using what I call the success formula. And guys, this is what I meant when I said I like to talk in guarantees. I'm going to give you what I consider to be the ultimate success formula. And you are not going to find a more fundamental, basic formula than this. I know it. You're not going to find it because it does not exist. This formula I'm giving you is based in Genesis chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Find me an older book if you can. You guys, man, we're talking about artists right here. These are the guys who live the imaginative life. These are the people who make things happen. They know what it is to dream something and then write it out and then create a movie. Nobody's perfect. How do you think that happened? Derrick just woke up one day and it happened? No, he must have thought about it, engaged his faculties. So here's the success formula. You guys are ready for it? This is it. Remember, the reason why I gave you the illustration I gave you earlier on to select something good and something not good, it's because when I give you the formula, I want you to accept it. And here's what I want you to do with the formula. Don't try to see if you can change it or improve upon it. You can't. Just accept it, analyze the events that have occurred in your life, and see how you can use this formula. You can't get around it. Like I told you guys, I've been studying this stuff for over 20 years. And I don't say anything unless I know it will stand the test of time. Here's the formula. What you feel, you attract. What you feel, you attract. Have you ever noticed what happens? You're feeling good, and you walk into the store, and everybody says, hey, good morning, good afternoon, how are things going? Wonderful. Everybody's happy, everybody wants to help you. The next time you go into the store, Jody, I'm waiting for my son. I told you not to be captivated with my speech. How am I doing on time? Okay, she's telling me I'm doing good now because I've been waiting for the cue. All right, so here's the point. The next time you walk into the store, you are in a funky mood. And somebody says, good afternoon, may I help you today? No, just searching, just looking around. What do people do? Oh, okay, we'll be here. See, you and I are transmitting signals, and people pick it up. So here's the first problem. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you become. What are you thinking in your mind? Remember the book of Numbers, chapter 14? Somewhere about verse 12 and 13. We saw ourselves as grasshoppers, and so were we in their sight. It's the way you see yourself that determines how other people see you, and that determines what shows up in your world. So it's what you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you become. Napoleon said, imagination rules the world. Now, when some of those guys talk, you better listen to them. I don't particularly care for Napoleon because in my mind, he was not a nice guy. But he ruled half of the world of his time. So if he tells you what it takes to rule the world, you better pay attention. He says imagination rules your world. What you think about most of the time, the thoughts that dominate your mind rule your world. It's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican, it's not the white people, it's not the black people, it's not the green people. It is you. When men shall say, lo here, lo there, go not after them, the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. It's you. Accept responsibility for your life. God gave it to you in Genesis 1:26. All of the problems we experience in our lives is a violation of Genesis 1:26. Because we neglect. What else do you want from God? What do you want him to do? Tell me. Give you more money? Find your boyfriend or girlfriend? You got a mind. You got 24 hours. What are you doing with it? What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, become. What you say, you see. Be careful of the words that proceed out of your mouth. The words that proceed out of your mouth determine what you see in your world. Isn't that the way it happens? Yeah, you know that's the way it happens. If you're not experiencing the results you want in your world, it is because of the way you have been feeling, the way you have been thinking, and the way you have been talking. And the final part is this. What you hear influences the results you produce in your world. Those of you who are here today, the thoughts and the ideas that you're going to be exposed to from the speakers and the entertainers tonight is going to move you northward. Because what you hear influences the results you and I produce in our worlds. Is this making any sense? Yeah. Jody, how am I doing on time? Oh, I was out. Guys, I apologize for that. I didn't see that. I apologize for that. So here's the conclusion. Remember, what you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you become. What you say, you see. And what you hear determines the result you produce in your world.